So there are these two kings, and the first king, he valued wealth, and he was one of these guys. He couldn't stand to lose. So the kind of people he surrounded himself with, they were the kind of guys, they'd say yes to anything you want to hear yes to, and they'd say no to all the things we want to hear no to. But there was this other king, and he was a just king, and he valued righteousness, and he looked at men's hearts, and he appointed the most righteous hearts in the kingdom. They were to be his friends. They were to be the people in authority. And one year, the floods came, and these two kings, they were like, what are we going to do? You know, we don't want to lose our kingdom in this flood. We don't want it all to be washed away. And the first king, the one who loved wealth, he said to his friends, what am I to do? I don't want my kingdom's wealth to be washed away. And his friend said to him, King, store up all the wealth in your kingdom in this very palace. This palace isn't going to be washed away. So the first king, the one who loved wealth, he took all the gold in the kingdom and he stored it up in his palace, and it filled every corner. And he was ready for the flood. Now, the second king, he valued different things. He asked his friends, he said, friends, I don't want our kingdom to be washed away. I don't want to lose everything that we've worked so hard for. And his friends said to him, King, fill this palace with wealth. Fill this palace with the wealth of this kingdom, as this palace isn't going to be washed away. So the king thought about this, and he took all the food in the kingdom. He took all the food in the kingdom. He took the bread, he took the grain, he took the wine, he took everything, and he stuffed it in his palace, and it filled every corner. When the floods came, the people of the kingdoms, they fled. They got to high ground, and they sat this thing out. But when they came back down to their kingdoms, when they came back down to see what had happened after the flood, everything was gone, everything apart from the palaces. The king's palaces had stood firm. So the first king, the king who loved wealth, he had his gold, you know? He was happy. He had his gold, but the people came knocking soon, and they said, King, our crops have been washed away. What are we to eat? And a famine struck that land. But you know the other king, the one who loved righteousness, he was saddened by the desolation, but he had stored up the right treasure. He had stored up food. And when his people came knocking, King, our crops have been washed away, he said, not to worry, not to worry, my people. I've stuffed this palace full of enough food to keep us going, to keep this kingdom alive. And he said, even though the floods have washed away everything, we can rebuild. We stored up the right things, we can rebuild from this. And you know, Jesus talks a lot. Jesus talks about treasures, and he talks about it in the Gospel of Matthew. And this is what Jesus says on the Sermon on the Mount. He says, do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. And this is the good bit. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. The first king, his heart was with the gold. And the second king, the just king, his heart was with the people. I just hope that in our lives, we get the treasures right.